Hello my fellow baristas and coffee lovers, my name is Stefania, welcome back to my channel. This one is a very highly requested video and I gotta say, I'm extremely excited for this one today. As a former barista, my brain up here is just filled with recipe cards. So many coffee recipes, like I don't even know what to do with it. Do you want a rosemary latte? Why do I have that one memorized? It's no secret that coffee is expensive in this economy and you out here spending $6 or $7 almost every day on a Frappuccino from Starbucks, that needs to end, bestie, because you can easily make it at home and you should make it at home. And I'm gonna show you how to make it at home. Wow, look at that. Here's the thing, the ingredients for these Frappuccinos that we're gonna do today, you may already have in your fridge or pantry. And if you don't, they're relatively cheap to pick up. Definitely much cheaper than what you're probably spending every day. And it makes multiple drinks, so the girl math checks out. We'll be going over 3 Frappuccinos today that are super quick, super easy, and taste delicious at home. And honey, as a former Starbucks barista, you have access right now to the exact recipe. I haven't forgotten, it's muscle memory at this point. Also, there's another thing I'm going to share with you today that a lot of these copycat Frappuccino recipes online, they don't know it. They're missing one specific, highly important ingredient. So today, we'll be going over ingredients, where to get the ingredients if you don't already have them, the build of each drink, how to make the whole shebang at home, and also, just to throw it in there, I'm going to remind you, after each Frappuccino, how much money you're saving by making it at home. I feel like we're going to be doing this a lot more in the future, so you might as well just hit that subscribe button and like this video if you end up enjoying it. Which I'm pretty confident you're gonna enjoy this because who doesn't love Frappuccinos? I mean, come on, let's be real here. The first Frappuccino that we're gonna be making today is a favorite amongst most people, a caramel Frappuccino. But before we start building our caramel Frappuccino, we need to do something else first. Have you ever wondered why your milkshakes and your Frappuccinos at home don't ever seem to be the same as what you spend $7 on at Starbucks? They separate or they get kind of milky. Well, darling, that's because you're missing one key ingredient. This is what you're missing, xanthan gum powder. This is the key ingredient that everybody leaves out, and I think it's because people just don't know about it. And listen, I'm no expert, but what I do know is that this is an ingredient typically used in baking, and it acts as kind of like a binding agent. In layman's terms, it keeps shit together. When we're making Frappuccinos at Starbucks, we always include a coffee base or a cream base. As I'm sure you can tell by the names, one has coffee in it, one does not. But regardless, they do the same thing. It's basically a syrup that keeps the drink from separating. And the main ingredient is xanthan gum. The good news is that it's extremely simple to make at home, so let's do it real quick. You're gonna grab a pot, any pot you choose. We're gonna do half a cup of water, 3/4 of a cup of sugar, I'm using coconut sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Keep the gum powder off to the side. We're gonna throw this on the stove, let it simmer. We're gonna stir until all the sugar is melted. Once it's melted, we're gonna take it off and let it cool to room temperature. Now that this is done, we're gonna pour it into our blender, add our xanthan gum, and we're gonna blend it together. And boom, you just made cream base. The reason that you don't wanna put your xanthan gum in the pot with everything else is that it will get clumpy. So to avoid that, just blend it after the fact. Adding 1 teaspoon of our gum powder. And now we blend. This can sit in your fridge for up to a month in an airtight container. Now, it may get a little thick in the fridge, that's okay. You could just scoop it out, it'll still work the same. Now that we have our secret sauce made, we can move on to the fun part, which is building our caramel Frappuccino. First ingredient you're gonna need is a caramel sauce or caramel syrup. Either or will work, just know that using a caramel sauce may make the flavor a little bit richer, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Milk of choice, standard for Frappuccinos at Starbucks is whole milk, but we're gonna use oat milk because we don't need to deal with any of that. Coffee of choice. I'm using 2 espresso shots from my espresso machine, but you can use any method of coffee. It'll all work the same. If it has caffeine, it'll work. Lastly, you will need a caramel drizzle. You'll start by adding some caramel syrup to your glass. I'm using the equivalent of 1/2 ounce, but you can use as much or as little as you'd like. Next up, you'll pour your milk into the glass. I'm doing the equivalent of 1/2 cup of milk. Transfer this to the blender. We're gonna add in our espresso. About 1.5 cups to 2 cups of ice goes next. Lastly, we'll do 2 tablespoons of our cream base. And now we blend. We're gonna grab our glass and we're gonna line it with some caramel drizz because we deserve it. What did Rihanna say? Po it up, po it up. Now we're gonna top with whipped cream and caramel drizzle. I present to you a Starbucks caramel Frappuccino at home. Congrats, you just saved yourself $6.57. Go buy yourself a Dior bag. Next up on the list, we have a Java chip Frappuccino or a double chocolatey chip Frappuccino. Just depends if you want coffee or not. Fun fact, the main difference between a Java chip Frappuccino and a double chocolatey chip Frappuccino is that Java gets coffee and Double Double doesn't. That's it, so feel free to add, remove, subtract as you please. I'll be adding coffee to mine because, well, it's me. You'll need chocolate chips, milk of choice, coffee of choice, and that's it. Even less if you want a double chocolatey chip. First, you'll grab a bowl and pour some of your chocolate chips into it. We're gonna add a touch of milk and pop it in the microwave, stirring as we go. Once it's melted and looking like this, you'll want to add it to your cup. I'm gonna do the equivalent of ½ ounce, but if I go over, the more mocha the merrier. Adding in our coffee, again, 2 ounces of espresso. We'll do ½ cup of milk, transfer to our blender. Again, we'll add about 1.5 to 2 cups of ice. The fun part, we're gonna throw in a handful of chocolate chips. Last part, we need to add our 2 tablespoons of cream base. And now we blend. Pour it into your cup. Top with your whipped cream. And if your chocolate hasn't hardened yet, then go ahead and drizzle a little bit over the top. And we wind up with a Starbucks Java Chip Frappuccino. You're saving $7.19 by making this at home. Go treat yourself to a spa day to celebrate. Last Frappuccino for today, we have a fan favorite. This one's for my matcha people out there. A Matcha Frappuccino. Today, we will be sweetening ours because that is standard at Starbucks, but if you don't want the sweetener, if that's not your vibe, then leave it out. You will need a matcha of choice. I'm using the Rishi brand. This is the brand that my old cafe actually used to use. A milk of choice and a sweetener of choice. I'm just using simple syrup. I got this from Target. I'm there a lot, okay? It's okay for us girls to have a relationship with Target. There's nothing wrong with that. First up, let's add our milk to our glass. I'm gonna be using the equivalent of 2/3 of a cup. Next, we'll do 2 teaspoons of matcha. If you wish to do more for a bolder flavor, you can do that. I'm gonna be doing ½ ounce of simple syrup. Now we'll add about 1 cup to 1.5 cups of ice. If you enjoy a thicker consistency, you can do 2 cups. Go crazy. Now our cream base, 2 tablespoons. You know the drill. Blend. A Starbucks matcha frappuccino, just half the whipped cream. But this one's better because the first ingredient in Starbucks matcha is sugar. So if you bought your own matcha, then it's probably healthier. And you're saving $6.87 by making it at home instead of going to Starbucks. And there you have it, my friends. We have a caramel frappuccino, a Java chip frappuccino, and a matcha frappuccino. And would you look at that? None of them separated. Let's do this again soon. Drop which drinks you want to see next in the comments. It could be frappuccinos, lattes, hot coffees, refreshers, teas. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, and I'll see you guys next time. Mwah. Oh yeah. Okay, ASMR to end the video. Bye.